We have a new sponsor and an old friend joining Envy Pillow here, Sierra Sil. With 2 rare patents and a money-back guarantee, Sierra Sil, available at Shoppers Drug Mart, London Drugs, and health food stores, is the natural mineral joint pain remedy you need.
Go to sierrasil.com, SIERRASIL.com, and use the code GF for 10% off. Hey, it's episode 37 of Gracefully and Frankly. Thank you so much for being here. I'm Lisa Brandt.
I'm Erin Davis. I'm so glad we're here together and so glad you're joining us because we've got a very perky, you could say, episode on tap for you today.
I see what you did there. Yes, we do. And Erin goes where other women have gone before, but a woman who knows Erin might not think she would have gone.
That's a heck of a hook.
And it's not something I ever would have imagined that you would do, but it's just so incredible that you did.
I have to ask you, though, why wouldn't you think I would do it? You've done it, and I'm not offended, but why?
I don't know. It's not something that I would have imagined you did. Maybe a butterfly in your ankle or something. I don't know. It just, you and tattoos they just don't connect in my head for some reason. But this is something different, though. This has got so much more to it. Also, there's a new survey out that says if you work, you're pretty unhappy. So only lottery winners and billionaires are the happy ones, I guess. But there is one vocation that is the least unhappy. Does that make sense? The happiest, but they're not happy. They're the least unhappy. And we'll tell you who that is and see if maybe you want to put on a hard hat and join them.
Oh, and also, worst ending ever? I don't know. Lisa's husband sure had a strong opinion about something that you've probably seen and maybe you want to weigh into. So it's all ahead. And speaking of ahead, where we rest ours, I took my Envy Pillow on my trip last week, as I said in our podcast episode 36. You've been fielding some questions.
Yeah, people have been sending me letters. They send me old-fashioned letters written with quill and ink. No, I get emailed and Instagram messages about the Envy Pillow. People ask me which one they should get. And the best part of that is I say, go to envypillow.com because there is a quiz right on the website that'll ask you how you sleep. Are you a back sleeper, side sleeper, all sorts of questions so you can determine on your own time which pillow is right for you. I've got a couple of Envy Pillows. I've got 3, I think.
Ooh, you're the envy of everyone.
That's right. But that's not necessarily the one that's going to work for everyone. So there are a few options. That's my advice. Go to envypillow.com, take the quiz. It's right on the landing page there and find out which one is right for you. And make sure when you make your purchase that you put in the code GF and get 10% off whatever it is that you buy.
You reminded me of something that I saw the other day, somebody writing to you with a quill and perhaps parchment. Somebody posted, I just sold my homing pigeon on eBay for the 48th time. Okay, it took her a second, and it'll come back to you too. Okay, here we go. Well, what a difference some good sleep in your own bed makes with your own pillow that we've already mentioned. Oh, my goodness, it's so good to be home. I don't know what it is, Lisa, but I wrote to you last week when I was in West Kelowna, and I said, oh, I can't wait to get home, and then book a trip somewhere else again.
Right. But what was the sleeping arrangement? I mean, you got your dad and you had your sister, and so, you weren't able to get your regular, 13 hours? No, I'm just kidding.
Someone sounds jealous.
I am.
You're right. I didn't get my usual 8 or 9 or 10 or whatever, but, Leslie treated me wonderfully. I shared her king-size bed with her and 2 of her 3 dogs. The third dog's only on the floor because Buddy's too big and old to get up on the bed now. Aww. And Rob met me at the airport with Dottie and with flowers, and it's kind of what I always envisioned and hoped that a homecoming would be. But Dottie was so busy shaking because she didn't like being in a strange place around strange people, and God knows I'm one of them. It was a lovely homecoming, just nice. So nice. And I must have hugged him about 8 times that night. I said, oh, I missed you so much. And he actually missed me. So there's a good reason for traveling separately, I guess.
That doesn't surprise me that he missed you. You guys are like, Derek and I call each other bees.
Yes.
because of the last name and all sorts of stuff. And the B is sort of our insignia. And when we see another couple that's really, you can tell they're connected, we always go, bees. And, you guys are like the original bees.
Well, we're sons of bees. You can be the first ones. It's a lovely compliment to be compared to you guys like that. And I did come home with something more than just a souvenir from Kelowna. And it's something you're very familiar with. And I shared this in my journal at erindavis.com on Monday, but I did it. I am among the inked now. I have joined your club, Lisa.
It's amazing. I never, ever would have imagined, like years ago or whatever, that you would get inked. But of course, we got to talk about what the ink is, and it makes perfect sense. But first off, how did it feel to be tattooed?
Emotionally or physically?
Physically. Did you find it painful?
Not really. I have a really good pain threshold. I mean, I've had needles in my face and scalpels just about everywhere on me. Not that you'd know by looking, but I was so relaxed. Sandeep was so lovely and handsome and telling me his story of coming from India and meeting his wife in northern BC and then moving down to West Kelowna to get a better job at Walmart and now really pursuing his art, that I almost fell asleep.
Wow.
Yeah, it felt just fine. It was on my forearm. Now, I know that there are places in the body, and I was going to ask you, Lisa, what's the worst place to get a tattoo? But I knew you'd come up with something smart like, a back alley. But there are different places on the body where it hurts more, right? Like ankles, apparently?
Yeah, and the shin, anywhere where there isn't a lot of meat on the body is pretty painful. I mean, I only have one on each hip and the one on my upper back. I purposely didn't pick places where it was going to be super painful. But I'll tell you, when I got the one on my hip, I told the guy no shading because it's shading. It's like scraping your skin. And that's what hurts to me. That's the worst.
Ah.
So what about emotionally then? So describe the tattoo and how did it feel in your heart?
Well, the day after Lauren died, I remember this May 2015. I remember the feeling that I wanted to shave my head or I wanted to do something. It's so strange, the things that go through your head in those moments, because I wanted the world to see, almost like the Jewish tradition of rendering your clothes, tearing your clothes or whatever. I wanted the world to see how much pain I was in. And as it turns out, I took a pretty bad fall in a parking lot on our way to Ottawa and ended up with this ginormous scrape on my knee. So yeah, I had proof that I was hurting. But I wanted to do something that said, something has happened to me. I'm not the same. Don't treat me the same. I'll never be the same. And so in a way, a tattoo is a little bit of an extension of that. But it took 8 years of healing and of deciding, gee, do I want to look at my forearm and always think of my loss? Or will I be looking at my forearm and always thinking of my joy, of our love and our memory? So it took that amount of time for me to decide what it was going to be. Initially, because I love wordplay, like our company is Real Family because it's Rob, Erin, and Lauren, REAL.
Yeah.
And that was decided long, long, long ago, before Real Family sounded judgy. I don't like the name of our company anymore because it sounds judgy. But I was going to get clear: Colin, Lauren, Erin, and Rob. But now, of course, there's Jane in our lives. So there's no J in there. So what I decided upon was, I guess it's kind of an old school tattoo, because Sandeep told me that, a lot of people for a while were getting butterflies and hearts fading and infinity signs. And this is indeed an infinity because my life number is 8. Okay, I'll wait while everybody goes, life number, what is that? But 8s are everywhere in my life. And it's an infinity sign, and lying along the bottom part of the infinity, the 8, is a purple and sort of a teal feather with various shades. And then along the bottom loop is spelled out in cursive, Lauren. So that is what I decided to do.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Thank you.
There was a time when I didn't know anything about tattoos, when I thought every tattoo meant you were a sailor, you were in a gang, you know what I mean?
You were drunk?
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Right. Especially when somebody's got a lot of them. But then when you start to really look at what they are, they're art. Like you said, the guy who tattooed that on you is an artist. And if you just look a little more closely or even ask somebody about them, if you feel comfortable, you'll find that they've got a lot more to do with feelings. And it's just so much more than a heart with mother through it because you're homesick because you're at war or whatever.
Right.
They're so different now. Like Derek has he has one complete sleeve
Mm-hmm.
and one almost. And we have a couple of the same tattoos. And he and his siblings got one for his late brother.
Yeah.
That his late brother drew.
Mm.
And, you know, they all have some sort of meaning to them. I just think that is so special and beautiful. It's one of one. I love it. Anything that brings Lauren to mind is a good thing.
I think she would be laughing, Lisa, because I remember the first time she told me she was going to get a tattoo. My reaction was just insane. It was, "You'll never be Governor General." I mean, for God's sake. Just
I remember that.
Such a mother thing to say, right? "Oh my God, now you'll never be queen." Ma, I wasn't going to be queen to begin with. She would be laughing because, "Oh, look at you now, Mom." But it was her who did this. And so it all comes kind of full circle, so to speak, with the infinity.
Yeah.
And then she got more, and it got to the point where she didn't ask me. She just went ahead and did it and then told me, which is a sign of maturity, I guess, because you don't really want to know what your mother thinks anyway.
Yeah.
Anyhow, I've got my tattoo. The healing process is really quite simple, cleaning it a couple times a day. Oh, what did you do when yours was on your back and you couldn't reach it? That was something I wondered as I was using my fragrance-free cleanser and moisturizer. How do you get at that?
Dr. Derek.
Oh.
He has so many tattoos. He knew exactly what the protocol was, and he looked after it for me. You know, it's really not that big a deal. You just keep it clean, and it looks so vivid when it's first done, and then when it sort of scabs and goes into its natural form, it's not going to be quite as vivid, but it's there permanently. You got it forever, so that's really cool.
My sister Leslie in West Kelowna took me to this place that she knew of that was reputable and stuff. And she'd been in there, and she has a maple leaf and a flag over her left breast. But unfortunately, as time goes on, it looks like it's flying at half staff. And speaking of breasts, it was with Leslie that I went in and actually had my first bra fitting in about, gosh, it has to be 20 years. Have you ever had a bra fitting?
I have, and I got it on doctor's orders because I went to my doctor and I said, "My boobs hurt. They always hurt. They're hurting all the time. Why do my boobs hurt?" And he said, "Go and get a proper bra fitting. Go and find out if that's the issue." And that's what I did. And I wasn't wearing them up high enough, and I wasn't wearing the bra tightly enough, and I needed to get different bras. So it's pretty amazing.
It is. Now, when you heard about bra fitting, did you think somebody was going to make you strip down and they were going to put their hands on you or something? Or what did you envision, and what was it actually in your experience? Do you remember?
No, I don't remember. I think I thought they were going to measure me and throw me a bunch of bras, and that's kind of what they did. But one woman, she'd been doing it for so long. She just said, "Look, I'm going to pull on the girls. Is that okay?" And I went, "Yeah, all right." And she "They should be here," she says. Stuff like that. So, did nobody touch your girls?
Not in this case. And I was vaguely disappointed. And this was a store that also deals with mastectomy patients. So they're used to different kinds of bras. As a matter of fact, because I have had breast surgery, I had implants. And well, someday we'll get into why I did in the psychology of working in an all-male environment and needing to feel more female. It's a whole thing. But I had implants, and one of them, you know how things go sideways? One of them literally did. So I had to go back, and I wanted to do the smart thing. I wanted to be able to have mammograms without these things getting in the way. And so I had them submuscular, which is a whole other world of pain. But anyway, I had them implanted under the muscles, the pectoral muscles, and one of them migrated under my arm, so she had to go and move it, and she charged me too. I should have known that that was a red flag, but this woman in Oakville charged me to move it. So then there's been constant nerve pain in that side breast. I call it lefty. Everybody in my life knows when lefty is hurting because I can't sleep all night. And I put an ice pack on it all the time, and that's not good for the skin.
Well, I have to tell you, I was freaking beside myself when that was going on. I don't know if you remember, but I kept saying, go to another doctor. Just go to another doctor. I was so scared there was going to be permanent damage.
Yeah.
Oh,
I did move to a good Toronto surgeon. I had this woman in Oakville, and there's nothing against Oakville surgeons, certainly, but I went out of town in case anybody recognized me. Isn't that stupid?
no.
I didn't want anybody to know that I'd had my girls done.
It's not stupid. It's not stupid. That's what people do. I totally get it. Back to the bras.
Back to the bras. So long story short, bigger story smaller, I had them removed. And the doctor put in fat injections to get the size and shape that I needed after having all of this trauma. And then what did I do? But I lost a bunch of weight. And so the fat goes. You always know where the fat's going to leave first. The fun places.
Yep.
Yep, it's nature's joke. So they're sad and they're small, but I'm 60, so who cares? Anyway, I've been wearing these wonderful sports bras, and if I could find the name.
Human origami happening as we speak.
Yeah, really. Well, I could take it off, but I've been wearing really good sports bras that I just got on sale at the Bay. But I wanted something that kind of went up and at 'em, as they say on Mrs. Maisel, tits up. So I went into this bra store, and Florenda, who helped me, she showed me a bunch of things. First, these little girls are supposedly an E. And I'm like, no way am I an E.
An E?
I know it makes no sense. Or a D, let's say.
Goes with your name, but that's about it.
Exactly. But what ended up happening is she brought me a bunch of bras and we found out what fit. But here's a tip for everybody. When you're putting on a bra, to make sure that your breasts sit where they're supposed to, bend right over and give your shoulders a shake.
Yeah.
And I know you're doing it right now because I'm doing it. And it places them in the cup and then you stand up. Get yourself a bra fitting because the bras that we wear are either too high on our shoulder blades or too low down around our midriff at the back, or they're not clasped in the right ones, or they're just not the right size. And just because you've worn it since you were 25, it doesn't mean you're still that bra, right?
Right.
We change.
My bra fitter kept talking about boob meat.
Oh,
She
geez.
kept saying, make sure. She'd say, this stuff on your side here, that's boob meat. And so she'd say, bend over, make sure all the meat goes forward.
Oh, my goodness.
And this is a place that, they've been around forever. They do this all the time, but they'd never had a doctor send someone before.
Wow.
But I've never forgotten that. And, when you go and get a mammogram, they make sure and pull everything as forward as possible because that's all boob meat. So there you go.
That's right. When I get a mammogram now, despite my best intentions, they pull and push and then it hurts for days because I have so many incisions under lefty. And then I end up having to get an ultrasound because there's scar tissue. So if I could go back in time and talk to 25-year-olds or whatever. Actually, Lisa, I was nearly 40. I was so old enough to know better. And I just made that decision. Or, okay, maybe 35. But yeah, it's a huge decision. And just because you see everybody it seems to have worked on in all of those magazines doesn't mean it goes smoothly. And the first ones were silicone. And then my second doctor tried saline, and he said he had never seen a rejection like mine. And I thought, well, that about makes sense. Anything I've had surgery on goes wrong. So I think I'm learning my lesson. This is what we try as we get older. But your lesson, and to everyone, is get a bra fitting. It doesn't cost anything.
Right.
And you may get yourself a bra that is $80 instead of $28 on sale at the Bay. But it will be one that should last you a good long time.
And it will keep your girls in place and you'll feel better. And back pain, it gets rid of back pain too. Sometimes. Great advice.
Wow, that was more than I expected to talk about today. Is there anything else? Oh, good Lord. I I keep telling everybody, listen to Gracefully and Frankly, and thank you for doing so. You've put us in the top 3% of listened to podcasts worldwide. But it's just girl talk. It's stuff you'd hear at the table next to you and just want to lean in and say, oh, have I got a story for you? And you're welcome to do that. We may share some of your experiences on future podcasts, and we'll keep your name out of it if you want. Okay. All right, let's take it to the workplace. I saw you posted something the other day about employee dissatisfaction. Bring us abreast on that, would you please?
Here's the deal. So I'm always looking for ways to promote the book Trade Up that I co-wrote.
Yeah.
And we're waiting for the audiobook is done and we're waiting for it to pass all the checks and everything before it goes live. And I saw this employee dissatisfaction survey. It's actually from the US, but the long and short of it is nobody's happy at work. And the least unhappy people, so the happiest, but they're unhappy too, are construction workers. So that's what made it a good fit for Trade Up about being in the skilled trades.
Mm-hmm.
And kind of a funny thing, we talk about little kids and how the jobs they want to do aren't even invented yet, probably. Well, my honorary grandbaby, my big sister, little sister's son is 10 and he wants to be a construction worker. And so I told him when they was here on the weekend, I said, you got the best chance of being the least unhappy.
Yeah.
You know?
And I wonder if that sinks in for a 10-year-old. I don't think that it does.
No. All he's thinking about is, I get to drive a big machine and blah, blah, blah. That's what he's excited about. So everybody is displeased right now with work. And I think a lot of it's got to do with a lot of remote workers are just being called back now. I know a friend of mine who works in Toronto is just furious about it because she's doing her work from home. And part of the reason that people don't want to be called back is because they think it's about being monitored, which is silly because you can tell if their work's getting done.
Very interesting about the construction. And I wonder what it is, if it's being outdoors on beautiful days. I don't envy them ever on the bad ones. Is it having some sense of freedom in terms of your physical wants and needs? If you're going to vape or you're going to smoke, or, you've just got that kind of, I'm not stuck here in a cubicle thing. Is it the physicality? Is it being able to use your body and not feel confined to a space? I think that's fascinating that construction workers have the least dissatisfaction.
Right. And in Ontario, for example, right now, they are in such high demand because there are so many open positions for workers that they can kind of pick and choose where they want to work and leave one place. And I mean, this is a generality. It's not everybody, but I think job security's probably got something to do with it. It's funny. I knew some things about the trades. I mean, obviously there's hairdressing and all sorts of trades, but the money that some of these people earn is spectacular. And I don't know, I bought into the concept of my own book. So
good.
It's really kind of cool.
You should.
I know, right?
You should. It's funny. Just last week, I was talking to a 21-year-old in our lives, and he was saying that he wants to become a microbiologist.
Oh.
That's a whole lot of years of education ahead of him. And I said, you are so good with numbers and you've got such a black and white way of looking at things. What about something like accounting where you can stay at home and do that? And, you'd be right in it right away. And he said, I don't like it. I want to do something I love. And I said to him, honey, your career is not always about doing what you love. You do what you have to do and then do what you love later in your other hours. And I had that talk with Lauren, and I don't know if I was right or not, but in high school, she was talking about going into theater. And of course, she went into radio. But I said, honey, theater is something you do on evenings and weekends. Do the day job and then do your passion in the other hours. And that way, you'll be able to make ends meet. I don't know if I was right or wrong about that.
I don't know that there is a right or wrong. I think it's like I have a niece, for example, who is pursuing theater, acting, all that kind of thing. And she's giving it 100%. But she's also exceptionally talented. But I think it depends on the kid. And I think it depends on the situation. I don't think it's bad advice at all. It's certainly the advice we got. I mean, I wanted to go into theater and I knew I would starve. So radio was performing.
And now radio people are starving too. So it's interesting how things change. I think that that is a generational thing that you're pointing out. The employees who are most dissatisfied are wanting life on their own terms. They want to be at home, as you say. And we're finding that more and more because COVID kind of opened up the door to say, hey, there's another life and you can do this from home. Now, one job that we were amazed could be done from home was radio. And I'm hearing anecdotally of people, in the biggest market in the entire country who are just not showing up for their shifts.
What?
And that's morning show coming in at like 6:30 instead of 5, evening show just not even coming in. And I know it's just like, what? You've been given the keys to the Jaguar and you don't even want to take it out of the garage? I don't know if it's generational, Lisa, or what it is, but It just seems like I'd rather be happy, so I'm not going in. I don't understand it.
No.
But I do get the office workers.
Yeah.
I totally get that.
Even when I worked at Canadian Tire in Calgary for one shift and hid from a couple because I didn't know how to find them the kettle they wanted, I still looked somebody in the eye when I handed in my apron. I'll tell you that much.
Well, the fall TV season is here, and this would be the time we'd be watching Olivia Benson and everybody in Law & Order SVU returning for a new season and all of that. But of course, there are all of the writer strikes and the actor strikes and all of that sort of thing. So a lot of people are binging stuff that they haven't seen ever. I mean, this was a COVID thing too, right? Going back and discovering shows you missed the first time around. But as we wrap up this show, and we hope never to have the worst ending ever,
Right.
Oh dear, you and Derek discovered something you didn't want to about a very favorite show.
Well, I'd seen it before. I had seen The Sopranos, most of the episodes over the years, but Derek had never seen a single episode. So we started number one, and, this is many, many months ago. I don't even remember how long. So we watched the final episode, and I didn't say a word to him. I didn't let him know what was coming because, spoiler alert, even though this was 2007, people keep saying it faded to black. It didn't fade to black. It cut to black. And everybody thought there was something wrong with their cable or the power went out or whatever. The episode itself wasn't bad, but the very end stunk. And it was really a disappointment. Now, I put this out on Twitter. Was it the worst one ever? And some people said to me, look, we always knew how it was going to end for Tony. And even David Chase, the guy who created The Sopranos, last year, I think he gave an interview and he said people actually wanted to see him get shot. And he's like, well, what is wrong with you people? So it could have been done better. I didn't want to see him get shot either, but I just thought it was a real cheap and crappy way to do it for a show that was so open about the violence and everything else that went on.
Well, I have a worst too, and this one I thought was kind of meh, but people were also furious about it, and that was the end of Dexter. And I'm not going to say what it was, but it was really lame. Now, they did have a chance to come back and reboot the series and sort of pick it up and make it better with his son. So that was a saving grace, but it's so ironic because Michael C. Hall, of course, who played Dexter, was part of what I think was the best ending of all time for a series.
Yes! 6 feet under. 6 feet under.
Yes.
It was incredible. That is one of the best endings of all time. I can't think of anything that's topped it. I mean, Breaking Bad was pretty good.
Yes.
But oh my goodness, I still remember how, I want to go watch it again now. Just the end.
I watched it, and these were my drinking days, so I would have a glass of wine and another one and watch it again and again and again and just cry.
Yeah.
It was so perfectly put together.
It was.
These friends that we'd watched. And if you aren't familiar with 6 Feet Under, it's a pretty dark show set basically in a funeral home. And it starts out usually with a pretty gruesome death. When there's a plane going over, I never forget about that block of ice just coming into the convenience store and knocking somebody flat, lavatory ice from a plane.
The one that sticks with me is every time there are kids on a TV show or something and they're hanging out the window, going,
The limo!
I
Yes!
always think of the woman up the moonroof or sunroof in the limo and smacking her face on the side, because they show her face later and oh my goodness, it's all crushed. And,
that's my other one. The limo and the airplane ice. Oh my goodness. Okay.
Yeah.
We're talking about 6 Feet Under. And again, we can't recommend it highly enough. It's an adult show, to be sure.
Yeah.
And it's darkly comedic, but also very serious, but best ending ever. And we're not going to tell you any more about that. All right. Hey, was this the best ending ever? I think so. But we're going to come back and do another episode, aren't we?
Okay. Yes. Yes. It's the ending that never really ends. It's a ... ellipsis.
It is that. Yeah. We are that annoying ... on your phone when somebody's messaging you and then they forget that they're messaging you and then they go back to writing it. It's like, what are you writing? The Declaration of Independence? As always, Lisa, just such a pleasure talking with you. And thank you. Thank you. And thank you to Jan Arden for giving our show a shout out on her podcast. I think I'm going to be a guest coming up. I got the text and I haven't responded, but I know when Jan Arden asks, you just say, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for everyone taking just a half hour out of their day to share with us. Coffee's on us, and we so appreciate it.
I'm Lisa Brandt. Have yourself a great week.
And I'm Erin Davis. Be sure and join us at Gracefully and Frankly on Facebook, and we'll be here next week. Make sure you are, and tell your friends. Join the Queen Agers. We're right here. And thanks, NB Pillow, too.